Got my new headlight. Look at that. It's basically a spot lamp, like an auxiliary lamp, but it's got two big ass LEDs in there, so it should be good enough. And hopefully, being that it's LED and not a big halogen bulb, it won't draw on my capacitor system too much. So hopefully I'll be able to run this without an on-off switch, just constantly on. Let's see if I can get it to turn on using the battery of the Kawasaki, because I don't have a spare battery lying around anymore. There we go. That's plenty bright. Yeah. So here's what it's going to look like in comparison to the big ass light I currently have on here. What it's going to look like is, so it's going to, right there, it's going to take the place. So yeah, much smaller, much more compact, much more Mad Maxy. And I don't foresee this mounting thing taking very long to do, but who knows? Oh, well, there you go. Like I said, removal will not take very long. Oy. That was simple. So now that that's off, I can kind of start playing around with what I want to do with this light. And to be honest, I would like one that's a little bit larger. This one is pretty damn tiny, but I'm not backing out. I will make it work. Now my first thought was to use these lower mounting bolts here and have it like that, which, to be honest with you, I don't like very much. If I had a bracket go like all the way up here to the middle, it would look pretty crazy, so I don't want to do that. What I was thinking is if I mounted it from the top here, had it sticking out slightly, that's not a bad look. Like, really. Like, that's not that bad. Just having all this crap open underneath, it's not terrible. And I can still use two mounts that exist. They're right here and right here, and I think they held the instrument panel on, or maybe the ignition switch or something like that. Those might work, because then I can have it kind of like right there, maybe stick out a little bit. So maybe like right there might look pretty good. So from the side, it look basically like that. I'm looking at the camera itself, and that doesn't look too bad. It'll be interesting, that's for sure. Yeah. And then from the front, be like right there, pretty much. That'll look pretty good. The mounting is going to be a little weird, because, get back over here. Mounting is going to be a little weird because the mount that comes with it is this little guy. And to be honest with you, it is slightly flimsy, but hopefully it'll hold its shape. So basically with this on, I have about, this thing gives me at the least probably an inch clearance from the bottom there. So I need to take that into consideration if I'm going to mount it upside down, kind of like that. Because then the mount that I'm going to have to do is going to be pretty damn easy, to be honest with you. It's just a plate that'll go from there, and then basically this will just mount from the top down and just have one bolt sticking out of it, which honestly won't look that bad. It'll look pretty good. And then I can basically decide how far out I want it. It just depends on the mount that I want to do. But for right now, I think that's what I'm going to go with right there. Because with this bracket, it gives me, because the bracket holes there are like kind of long, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, probably around the neighborhood of about a ½ inch of height adjustment, maybe an inch, so I can play with it a little bit. My fear is that these mounts for these little screw holes for the mounts on the actual light bar, they don't go all the way through. So my fear is that this will just basically rattle off. That's the fear that I have. So I need to figure out something to do that's gonna strengthen this up so that doesn't happen, so that this basically never ever rattles off. And the thing is that actually, like, this housing has screws on each side, so I can take this off, so I can look in here and pretty much see what it looks like. Or another option is to basically drill from there to there where there's a gap. So from there to there, just drill a hole and then thread a bar through there, screw a threaded rod through there, and basically make like metal lock nuts on each side, and then it will not go anywhere. Metal lock nuts are holding damn near everything on this bike on. And for good reason, because this thing will just shake it apart. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. As far as a headlight goes, I'm pretty happy. It has the adjustability up and down, and you know, maybe I'll do an elongated hole like this on the mount so I can adjust it in and out and see, you know, just play around with it a little bit and make sure that it's actually something I want to do. But yeah, that ain't too bad. Let's take some measurements. So I was looking around all my scrap piles of metal, and for the most part, you know, I had stuff that was like this gauge, which is, you know, it's thin enough for me to put a little pressure on it and the vise and it to bend. So for me, that's not strong enough. So what I would prefer is something in the middle, but what I have is this like 1/4 inch, I think that's like a 1/4 inch. Well, let's find out how long it is. That is how fat it is. It's about a 1/4 inch. Yep, 1/4 inch thick steel plate. This stuff, pretty beefy for a headlight mount, but you know what? I don't want to run into the situation where over time it's gonna, like, you know, lose its position and such, like, you know. So I think I'll go pretty thick and see what I can see if it God, I don't know, man. I don't even know if I could get it. Like, maybe I could get away with using a lower gauge, but then I just think it'll just vibrate to all hell. Like, at least with this, like, I know it's gonna, no matter what, it's gonna stay in place. So I think I just answered my own question. So I'm gonna cut a 2x3, 2 inch by 3 inch bit off of this. So let me get some paint pens. All right, it's time to cut this thick ass plate. Well, here it is. And if those around you are looking at this and saying like, hey man, that's not straight, you know, that's not a perfect rectangle, well, no shit. But I always, when I make these sort of brackets, I always cut off a little bit more than I should. So like if I need 3 inches, I'll do like 3 1/8 or something like that, just so that I know that I'm always gonna, like, because I don't have a jig, or I mean not a jig, a bandsaw or anything like that, it's never gonna be straight, because I'm cutting this by hand. So I always leave myself a little bit so I can basically sand down the edges of it, and later I can make it straight with using like a flat disc or something like that. But for now, this is all I need. Alright, so here's what we're looking at. Let me get a little bit more light in here, hopefully. That's better. Here's the underside of the triple. And these are the 2 mounts that I'm going to be using to mount this plate in, which is now nice and not scalding hot. And if you look at it from here, you'll see my problem. And that it doesn't fit, like it's not in far enough to basically make it so the bolts are going to be sitting in there nice and pretty, with plenty of material on either side of the bolt hole. So what I have to do is I have to trim. I'm going to trim a little bit of this off, and I'm going to use the ugly side for obvious reasons. And basically I'm just going to trim this off. So my paint marker. I'm going to be using these paint markers to paint the tank. It'll be cool, trust me. Just trust me, bro. So let's say in order to get this sitting flush, let's just take that off. Oh no, not that much. Not that much. Let's just do this for now. Yeah. Yeah, let's try that for now. Alrighty, it's not pretty, but it doesn't have to be at this point. See how it fits. Nice. Nice and flat. I'll be definitely able to work with this. If I do it this way, it works too. I think what I could, no, you know what, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine right there. Sweet. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do is, I think I'm going to drill out these holes. So I think that this bolt, or this screw that's, or this drill that's in here is going to be about where I need it. Let's see. Make sure I don't come out the other side or anything, you know. That would be bad. I don't need it to go forever, but for most of it. Now what I have is some, no, I need to go bigger. Because I have an M8 and an M9 tap and die set, but I think I'm going to go M8 because it's a little easier to find M8 bolts than it is M9. And I don't want to complicate things that much. So M8 it will be. Okay, M8 by 1.25. Let's see how it works. So as it turns out, I'm having a little bit of effort getting this to sit, getting the plate to sit really flush, and then what's keeping it are these little casting marks here and here. So all I'm going to do is just trim them a little bit. Alright, so now what I need to do is I need to make sure that the holes that I drill on the plate are going to line up with the holes that I'm going to be mounting it into. And I don't know if this is going to work, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a paint pen like pretty thick around the circumference of the hole here, both sides, and hopefully just be able to press this right down onto it. Press the plate right down onto it, and then I should be able to flip it over and look at it and see, you know, exactly where I need to drill. So let's try and get this right the first time. Okay, that didn't work at all. Oh, you know what it is? Oh, dirt. Hang on, I need to file off the top of this a little bit, and then it'll work. Where's my file? Where are you? Oh, there it is. Found you. Now I should be okay. So let's try that again. Okay. One shot at this. That kind of worked. It kind of worked on this side at least. But that might be enough for me to, yeah, that's enough. So you see there, can you see there? Yeah, see a little thing there? Inside of that is where I need to make my hole. And basically I can, even though the other side hasn't shown up all that well, what I can do is I can basically just use this and then just measure the distance on the triple, and then make it up from there. Alright, I got the triple just kind of sitting here on top of the forks. Obviously I can always move this down if I need to, but for this it's unnecessary for it to be all the way on the forks. So it'll put me about there, which doesn't look too bad. It's not bad. So basically I just want to make sure, at this point I'm just going to align this bracket here. And I have my paint pen. And pretty much I just want to make sure that it's like, I don't want it all the way up at the front there. Kind of want it in line with these little bolts here, but I just want to make sure it's straight first of all. That looks to be pretty straight. So let's mark it. Let's do it again because I moved. About there. Cool. Okay, so now that I can see like this is where I need to drill, I can pretty much outline the rest of the bracket and see how I want it to sit. And then pretty much just trim all the excess off. So, just to make sure I know that it's straight, or basically, so that I know the, like the limits of it. Just outline it here. And so now that I have these marks, I can trim it. I can trim basically everything that this doesn't touch off. So I can trim all that off, I can trim all that off, and make it look somewhat presentable. I think I'm just going to do it like have it kind of follow this line and then just kind of like scoop in like that, and pretty much just like round it off so that it, you know, it does this sort of thing, it does like that sort of thing, instead of just straight and ugly like it is right now. So that works, huh? And also, being that I outlined it the way that I did, I left myself a little bit of space here so that I know even if I touch this, it's going to be okay. Because this isn't, you know, gives me about a millimeter or two of play. If that makes any sense. I know I'm rambling. So yeah, the next step is just to, well, one, drill that hole, and two, shape it. And then we're ready to mount the headlight. It'll be nice and easy. Well, it's done. I'm not sure I'm 100% about it. It's a big change. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to ride it like that and see if I like it. It's probably going to be nice. But, I don't know. As of right now, it's kind of weird. But that's kind of what I was going for. From the profile, it looks real cool. Looks real good. Front is kind of weird. It's different. It's definitely different. But I'm gonna roll with it. Come this far, why not, right? Yeah, the only things left to do is just to tighten this top bolt there, so it's still able to like swing around. But you know what? I don't know, man. It looks kind of cool. Different for sure. If only it was like an inch longer, I think I'd be a little bit more happy. Like if it was like kind of centered more, I'd be more happy with that. But you know what, man, that's not bad. It's just different. Yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna roll with it. Yeah, ate some dinner, thought about it. I don't like it how it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fab up a new bracket. This little guy right here. I'll make one of my own. And hopefully it'll look okay. I'm going to lower it about, I'm going to extend it about an inch down. Put it about there. And that should be right about where I need it. So let's get to work. Oop, you can't see good. Okay, so here's the bracket, and I am going to use pretty much the same thickness metal. This is a little bit, just a slight bit thicker, but you know, it's in a strip, so basically I just cut the length and away I go. So I have to figure out how long to make strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure each bit of this individually and add it up. So this is almost 1¼ inches. We'll just round up and say it's 1½ by 1½, so that's 3 inches, and let's say 1¼ so that's sorry, 1¾ so that's 4¾ inches. So I basically have to make 5¾ inches, which I'll just, wait, no, 6¾ so I'll just make it 7 and round up, and 7 will get me right there. Now if only I had my paint pen. Alright, I cut my strip out. 7 inches is total length. Half of 7 is obviously 3½. And the length of this was, let me just look at it again. One and a half inches. So I need to do, what is it, from the center line, I need to basically do this. So that's the center line, that's where the center hole is going to be, obviously. So that means that we're basically looking at, whoops. Basically we're looking at that for the center. So now that I have those things, so now I have that to work with. Now all I do is just bend up each side. Alright, I think that looks better. Dropped it down about 1 inch, and now we're cooking. I think that's good. Albeit still a little weird, I will admit, but you know what, man? I think it'll look pretty cool once we're all said and done. It's something different, you know? So the bracket, all I'm going to do here is just drill some holes on the side here, just for style. Some speed holes. Done. Done. And taking off Plasti Dip is a complete pain in the ass. Ugh.